good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever this finds you. It's coffee time. Got my Ruby Falls mug here from Ruby Falls in Chattanooga, Tennessee. If you ever have the chance, might I say, please go to Ruby Falls in Chattanooga. It is an indoor waterfall. It sounds, to those of you who may not be nature people, it maybe sounds not so interesting. It is fascinating. It is super cool. It is like a weird, like, constant temperature down underground. It's great. I highly recommend it. Thank you all for your patience for not having a vlog on Friday. I got hit by a deer. There was a picture on the thumbnail of this video so you could see the damage to my car. But yeah, I was driving back home after dropping my kid off at school in the morning, and this deer was not going to stop. So thankfully everything worked the way it should. The car protected me. No glass broke, no airbags went off. Um, the windows kind of got moved from their frames a little bit. I couldn't open the door after about once. I couldn't open it from the outside. I had to open it from the inside. Um, we insurance worked. I was fine. No, yeah, no damage there. Insurance worked. The rental car worked. Everything worked the way it should. It's just a really long, kind of chaotic morning and afternoon on Friday. So thank you for your patience. If you were expecting a video, or if you were expecting uh class on Friday and didn't get it, I didn't have time to cancel class. I had to get going on all of the other things like insurance and stuff like that I had to do. So today we are um, introducing Unit One of uh, of the class, and I asked everyone when they came in today, we're talking about the British Romantic poets. What are some things that would have been going on around this time frame, the 1780s to the 1830s? And yeah, if this romantic writer, romantic art, romanticism period sounds familiar, it's because if you were with us in American Lit, or if you've taken an American Lit course, you've heard about the Romantics already. Your Robert Frost, your Henry David Thoreaus. These were romanticists who, as we'll talk about, just like the Brits, wanted to get back to individuality, get away from conformity, and so on. So we'll talk about what that means in a little bit, but a lot of these same ideas happened already, and we covered them already in an American Lit course. So in the 1780s to 1830s, again, the American Romantic period is the 1820s to 60s. So again, they overlap a little bit, but we're talking about the American Revolution, the French Revolution, the Industrial Revolution. All of these things are happening in the world, or have happened in England, or England has witnessed, and they are, as we'll talk about today, kind of influencing where art goes from there. So we talk about romances in a modern sense being like hearts and flowers, right? Um, Romance, rom-coms, all that stuff. But romances in a classical sense are these heroic tales that often involve mystery and enchantment. After the French and American revolutions, there's a lot of bloodshed, a lot of chaos, and then the Industrial Revolution leaves England to grow maybe a little bit too quickly, leaving this big, large class gap. Again, a lot of people making money up here, and a lot of people down here just not making anything. It also leads to a new appreciation for individuality and optimism. Again, we see this in the America one as well. This is a lot of retread from last year's American Lit course. So art never really exists in a vacuum, right? I don't think anyone, any artist, whether it's writing, whether it's music, whether it's um, art, like paintings and sculpture and things like that. No one really ever exists not influenced by the world around them, or the life around them, or their life and its happenings. Art usually reacts to change. So the romantic writers and the romantic artists of England at this time period turned their back on tradition in order to get more personal, finding inspiration in the simple things around them. Again, if this sounds familiar, this is what Robert Frost and Henry David Thoreau and the Transcendentalists were always going for in their work. Okay, so we looked at this poem, or this painting, "The Cornfield" by John Constable from 1826, and I asked y'all to kind of tell me about it a little bit. First of all, everyone thinks that the drinking boy down here is dead. He is not. He is drinking. Um, but again, It shows it's very one person called it photorealistic. I'd say that's a pretty fair assumption. Again, probably not officially photorealistic by art standards or even art teacher standards, but I'll go with it. It's better than I could do. Um, it shows kind of this natural rustic beauty. You see these clouds up. Oh no. You see these clouds here that are starting to get gray. They're ready to release that rain. They're not storm clouds. They're just rain clouds. But then you have the drinking boy here, which we'll talk about in a second. But you have these farm workers. You have these sheep. You have the sheepdog, all sheltered from the rain by these trees. This boy here is drinking water from kind of a little well, and he represents this innocence. He is closest to nature, and he's a common person. Remember, and a lot of art in England at the time was funded by rich people. So you painted the rich people or whomever the rich people wanted painted, including just like common farm workers and stuff. This was part of the that romantic movement, making art accessible to the common folk. But it shows us nature as a teacher, a protector, a consoler, even when chaos is going on up above. So, the Romantic period from 1798 to 1832 could be defined as the broad intellectual artistic movement that began in England as a reaction against the tradition and order of the past. They championed imagination and emotion over logic and reason. Again, the American Romantic period was a very similar sort of reaction to not everything has to be explained. Not everything has to be well thought out. Sometimes we can be impulsive or just imagine crazy, fantastical things, and that's okay. It's not necessarily a negative response. It's not saying that logic and reason is bad. It's just that maybe there's a counterbalance, right? Maybe not everything has to have a concrete, scientific, logical reason. So we looked at this William Blake quote that says the divine arts of imagination, imagination, the real and eternal world of which this vegetable universe is but a faint shadow. This is basically saying that we have this world around us, but imagination is what sends us to other places. Imagination to us oftentimes is more real than the world around us because it's concrete. It's what we can make, it's constant, it's what we can make it. Okay. And that is where this romantic poetry is going to kind of live in this unit. It's this idea that we're going to take inspiration from the world around us, but we're going to be somewhere else, another realm, another dimension that's a little bit more abstract and imaginative, even if it doesn't make it any less real or meaningful. So the romantic poets were inspired by revolution, they were reacting to progress. They believed that a poet is an insightful person, a private person who searches for the truth. That poets should challenge their readers, that they should be original and not lean on traditions and set styles and rules and conventions. So, how do they do this? They use fresh language, words that hadn't been done, techniques and subjects that hadn't been done, as we saw in that painting by John Constable. They're using simpler words. They're bringing the vocab level down so that the clear message can be for everyone, not just those with a higher education. And they're taking real world inspiration, cornfields in the middle of a storm, right? Or middle of a rain shower, right? Like they're taking real world inspirations, making these messages universal and using simple words for everything. Your to-do list. Okay, a few things to do. One, since the timing got shifted because of my accident, there is no new article yet. That'll be on Wednesday. You still have article of the week number one, the New Year's resolutions article. It was due on the 6th. I will zero it out on Friday the 13th. Read pages 92 and 93 in your book for Wednesday. I will also link to both of those two poems on the course page later on today. Make sure to watch these vlogs, like them, subscribe, comment down below. Also, if you go to the discussions page on the course page in tools and discussions up at the top of the screen, you will see a questions for Mr. W thread. It is a moderated thread, so I can delete any questions I don't think are appropriate for me to answer. But if there are questions you'd like for me to answer in a future episode or a mailbag kind of thing, an AMA episode, please leave them there. They can be totally anonymous if you have a question you would like to not answer or not have your name assigned to. But once I get a few of them, I'll put together a video on a Tuesday or Thursday when we don't have class. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments or email me, of course. Thank you so much for watching and have a fantastic